I'm deeming you unutilized retained earnings as distributed. But there are some ambiguities in the context of these provisions. One, the law says unutilized retained earnings, but it does not specifically say from when. So does it mean from the moment the law has been introduced? But this is something that, as I've said, was just introduced last year. So up to now, we have not seen the Commissioner exercising these powers. But once I think the Commissioner starts exercising this power, then a lot of ambiguity or a lot of ambiguous issues circumventing the incurrency confirmation. I'm sure if you are to ask most of the business persons here, prove to me that you have incurred this expense, they just give you a fiscal receipt. And to them they say, you know, I have an FD receipt, so that is the proof that I've actually incurred this expense. But based on the case laws that have been determined recently in the prior years, we have come to know that we likely have. For instance, if you are, let's say you have expatriates that are flying in to assist you in a certain thing, any major transaction, it might be best to liaise with your tax personnel to advise you. With this tax, you are a resident person, we expect to tax you on your worldwide income. That is, if you are here in Tanzania and you are earning some income from Kenya or Uganda, we have to tax information so that the government is losing revenue. So that's where the provisions of CFC were introduced, to ensure that every resident person who has any resident as on the percentage of ownership that you have. So that's the essence of CFC. But now there was a bit of twist, especially on a certain provision, where there was a bit of dispute in terms of how to interpret for resident persons or resident companies which have non-resident owners. So the TRA was of the view, if you're a resident company and then you have non-resident owners, then you're also deemed as a CFC, meaning whatever retained earnings that have not been distributed, the TRA deems them as distributed and then collect the requisite tax on that. So as I've said, this is a matter now that is pending before the court, because it started at the board, where the board had ruled in favor of the TRA, and then we had appealed to the tribunal, where tribunal ruled in the favor of the taxpayer. So now the matter has gone to the Court of Appeal, and we are waiting to see how the court will deliberate that. Now coming to the last issues, which is just a very high-level review of the decided tax cases. So in the prior year, that is 2025, there was a total of 53 cases that were submitted or were wrote before the Court of Appeal for determination. Out of those, 44 cases were decided in TRA favor. That means if you are to compare in terms of winning ratio, TRA had a winning ratio of 83%. While out of 53 cases, only 9 cases were determined in the favor of the taxpayer. What does that mean? It means the taxpayer has only a winning ratio of, I think, 17%. What does that mean? So at the moment, it means, regardless the reason for the deliberation of these cases, what it actually shows is there is a very slim chance of taxpayers securing a very favorable decision before the Court of Appeal. Then what does that mean? It means at least during audit stage or during objection stage, you have to ensure that you fully settle the issue or you fully close the matter. But the challenge is, once TRA comes to audit you don't like to engage us. You do it yourself. And then when things are hard, you then call us. And that's where these things are happening. So for you to avoid this, and to ensure next year we at least have a big winning ratio for taxpayers, whenever TRA reach out to you, give us a call. Right? Yeah, so that is the end of my presentation. I will give chance for questions, I think 3, and then we can close for another session.
If you have a question, you may raise up your hand and I'll come and give you a mic.
It's the only time we are giving free advice, so use this one. After this, we start billing.
Thank you for your presentation. I just had a small question on the tax on retained earnings. So I think when it was introduced, there were a number of complaints from the business community, and I thought that they reached a point where they said that the amount that will be applicable will be the accounting profit that has been retained for that year. Will you talk more about that? Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. So in terms of the complaints first, concerning the retained earnings provisions. So one, the first complaint that the taxpayers had wrote was in the terms of time. So if you remember, the initial amendment had only 6 months. That is 6 months after the end of the year. If you have not distributed your retained earnings, then the Commissioner had the power to deem all of that as distributed. So after the complaints, they worked on 2 things. One, extend the time. So previous it was 6 months, but now on the issue that we are talking about, the way the law has been drafted, if you were to look and elect the provision, that's why I say there is in other ways, there is no clarity in terms of whether the law covers only a movement or it covers cumulatively the retained earnings that you are paying. That's why I say up to now we have not seen the Commissioner utilizing those discretionary powers, but once you start doing that, then you can.
All right, thank you, Bill. You have touched on the issue of documentary relevancy in tax analysis, tax dispute control. Sasa hiyo inapelekea encountering, but what I speak for every lawyer here when you say you also want a paperless tax dispute body. Ukiingia pale board unaweza ukaingia kufile document, unakuta unaita mtu anapitia kwenye makablasha kwenye pile ya documents. So I trust Victory. I've known Victory since when I've started being a lawyer, and I know na ile motisha ya push. So it's no more of a question, it's more of a cry for pushing. We would really appreciate having za miaka mitano. So probably being a big firm, would wish if you can the more kama mkupush kwenye digital laws na huko kwenye tax, at least see a way to move into a paperless dispute resolution. That's all.
Thank you, Honorable. That is not it. Last one.
I'm here, so you can just raise your hand and I'll see you.
No, our clients, they don't love free things. They reach out first.
So before we begin the next segment of this program, that is the launch of the tax department, we would like to acknowledge the presence of some stakeholders that are here with us today. We would like to recognize the presence of TASESA, the presence of TATO, the presence of Stanbic, Better Law, Barrick, Dentsu, Tanzania, Capital Pay, Silverland, Tanzania Limited, and Exodus Advisory. Welcome. So now we're at the very interesting part of this particular cocktail party that we're having here today. That is the launch, the official launch of the tax department. So I would like to call upon very special people to. I would also like to call upon Mr. Benedict Mbaha. I would also like to call Mr. Benedict Shirogaki as well. And I would like to call upon Mr. Eric Mabula, who is the head of the TRA Digital Tax Department. I would like to call forth Mr. Kalanidis of Mr. Ifan from Assad Associates. also like to call upon Bertha Nayaro. Please come forth. We just want to do a little bit of gender balance. And Miss Fatma Sonora, please come forth. Yeah, so the moment we've been waiting for, the cutting of the ribbon. We're gonna do a little countdown, all right? And then we're gonna clap at the end. 5, 4, 3, 2. Please come forward.
Victory. Deus, come this way.
So now I would like to call upon the floor to also come and take photos with the partners of Rich Attorneys and Mr. Benedict.
All partners come here.
Good evening, everybody. I don't need to introduce myself. I was introduced as a managing partner, Augustine Dominic Shio. I am told Stanbic is represented here. I am my father of Doreen Dominic, who is at Stanbic. Asante sana. Asante. I've been assigned to make a vote of thanks. I take this opportunity to thank you all. First, the Victory Attorneys and Consultants team for organizing this August event. Thank you so much. Thank you, Benedict, the joining partner for tax department in our firm. I would also like to thank all the guests around here, ladies and gentlemen. You are all welcome for the next event, which will be announced by Edith. You are welcome. Asanteni sana, karibuni sana. And by the way, VSC is situated at IT Plaza Building, Ohio and Garden Avenue. Ile brand house. We are at first floor. If you want to see Benedict, our tax consultant, you are most welcome. Thank you.
Hapana, tulikuwa tunafanya, lakini tumeamua kuboresha kwa kuleta